The antique chandelier cast flickering shadows across the mahogany staircase as guests mingled below, their laughter echoing through the three-story Victorian mansion. I stood at the top of the stairs, adjusting my emerald silk dress, the one Marcus had insisted I wear tonight, despite my protests about the long hem. "It's perfect for the occasion," he'd said that morning, his smile not quite reaching his eyes. "Trust me, darling." Now, watching him work the crowd of investors and socialites below, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. Marcus had been oddly insistent about every detail of this party, the date, the guest list, even the exact time I should descend the stairs to make our annual toast. Mrs. Hamilton. I turned to find an elegant woman in her 50s standing in a shadowed hallway. Her silver hair was perfectly coiffed, but her eyes held an urgency that made my skin prickle. "I'm Sarah Davis from Wellington Trust," she said quietly. "We need to talk. Now." "I can't," I gestured to the crowd below. "The toast is exactly what I need to warn you about." She gripped my arm. "Your husband's grandmother didn't die from falling down these stairs 20 years ago. Neither did his first wife, or the woman he was engaged to before you." The room seemed to tilt. "What are you talking about?" "Elizabeth?" Marcus's voice carried up from below. "Darling, everyone's waiting." Sarah pressed a USB drive into my hand. "Don't go down those stairs. I have proof." "There you are." Marcus appeared at the top of the staircase, his face a perfect mask of charm. "Sarah, I didn't know you were coming tonight." "Just leaving, actually." Sarah's smile was brittle. "Your wife and I were discussing the trust fund arrangements." Marcus's hand found the small of my back, fingers digging in slightly. "Elizabeth handles none of that, I'm afraid. Family policy." "Of course." Sarah met my eyes. "Remember what I said about the arrangements, Mrs. Hamilton. Every detail matters." She turned and disappeared down the hallway, leaving me with the USB drive burning in my clutch and Marcus's hand pressing me toward the stairs. "Shall we?" His smile remained fixed. "Everyone's excited about the announcement." "Announcement?" This wasn't part of the plan. "What announcement?" "The merger, darling. Harrison Phillips is buying us out. Tonight's the perfect time to tell everyone." Harrison Phillips, the company that had also bought out his previous wife's family business just weeks before her fatal fall. The USB drive felt heavier now. "Marcus, I don't feel well." "Maybe we should." "Don't be silly." His grip tightened. "You look beautiful. Like a picture." He paused. "Exactly like the picture they'll use in tomorrow's papers." Ice slid down my spine as pieces clicked into place. The specific dress, the precise timing, the way he'd insisted I wear my grandmother's heavy diamond necklace despite its loose clasp. "Marcus." I started to step back, but his hand clamped around my wrist. "Time for your grand entrance, darling." The first push was subtle, just enough to make me stumble. As I caught the banister, I saw his face change. The mask slipped, revealing something cold and calculated beneath. "Marcus, please." The second push was harder. I grabbed the railing with both hands. The USB drive clattered to the floor. Below, guests were turning, pointing, some reaching for phones. Perfect witnesses, I realized. They'd all see my tragic accident. "Let me help you, darling." Marcus's voice was loud, performative. "You seem unsteady." His hands found my shoulders. In the crowd below, I spotted Sarah Davis pushing through the guests, phone raised. She was recording. Time slowed. I saw Marcus' reflection in the massive mirror on the landing, saw his arms tense for the final push. I saw the same expression he must have worn 3 times before on this same staircase. But I also saw something he didn't, the antique runner beneath our feet, the one he'd so carefully positioned earlier. As his arms shot forward, I dropped and rolled left. The loose carpet, freed from my weight, slid exactly as physics demanded. Marcus, thrown off balance by his own momentum, pitched forward. His cry of surprise turned to real fear as he tumbled past me. I caught a final glimpse of his face, shock replacing calculation, before he hit the first landing. The sound silenced the party instantly. "Someone call an ambulance." Sarah's voice cut through the shock. She was already running up the stairs, phone still recording. "Mrs. Hamilton, don't move. The police are on their way." "The USB drive," I gasped, pointing to where it had fallen. "He'll claim." "We have everything." Sarah helped me up. The trust fund transactions, the insurance policies, the pattern of accidents going back 20 years. Tonight was just to get final proof. Below, Marcus wasn't moving. Guests surrounded him, some checking for a pulse, others whispering and pointing up at me. I should have felt something: fear, grief, guilt. Instead, I felt only a profound emptiness as I watched my husband's perfect mask finally crack. "He's breathing," someone called. "Barely." Sarah's arm steadied me. "The police will want a statement. Are you ready to tell them everything?" I touched the loose clasp of my grandmother's necklace, the one Marcus had carefully sabotaged, meant to be found broken beside my body. "Yes," I said. "Every detail matters." The hospital waiting room buzzed with whispered conversations and the occasional flash of a phone camera. I sat with Sarah, clutching a paper cup of cold coffee while detectives interviewed witnesses down the hall. "The footage is clear," Sarah murmured, showing me her phone. "He deliberately positioned you, checked the carpet, everything. Classic premeditation." On a screen, I watched Marcus's practice performance from just hours earlier. The concerned husband, rushing to help his dizzy wife. If I hadn't moved at the last second. "What made you start investigating?" I asked, unable to take my eyes off the video. Sarah's face darkened. "I handled his grandmother's estate. The accident never sat right with me. A healthy woman who'd lived in that house for 40 years suddenly forgetting about that loose carpet. Then came Jessica, his first wife. Same stairs, same story. When Rachel, his fiancée, died before the wedding, I knew. But you couldn't prove it. Not until he married you." She pulled out a thick file. The pattern was identical. First he'd arranged large life insurance policies. Then came property transfers, moving assets into his name. Finally, a convenient business merger right before each accident. My hands shook as I opened the file. Photos of 3 women smiled back at me, each in her 30s, each a successful businesswoman, all dead. "The Harrison Phillips connection?" I asked. "They bought out each family's company at a fraction of its worth right after the deaths. Marcus got finder's fees, stock options, board positions. The perfect setup." A doctor appeared in the doorway. "Mrs. Hamilton, your husband is asking for you." Sarah gripped my arm. "Don't go alone." "I need to see him," I said. "I need to know why." Detective Morgan, a sharp-eyed woman in her 40s, stepped forward. "We'll be right outside. Wear this." She handed me a small recording device. "Get him talking if you can." Marcus lay in the hospital bed, his normally perfect appearance shattered by bandages and bruises. His right leg was elevated, encased in a cast. "Elizabeth." His voice was weak, but his eyes were calculating. "Come to finish the job?" "You tried to kill me, Marcus." "Prove it." He smiled thinly. "I was trying to help my dizzy wife. Everyone saw that. Your little stunt with the carpet could have killed me. Like you killed the others." A flicker of surprise crossed his face. "What others?" "Your grandmother. Jessica, Rachel. Same stairs, same setup. Sarah Davis has proof." Marcus's smile faltered slightly. "That interfering old woman. Always poking around where she doesn't belong. No one will believe her theories. They'll believe the video and the financial records. Harrison Phillips is already cooperating with the investigation." "You don't understand," he hissed, dropping the injured victim act. "This was supposed to be perfect. Quick, clean, profitable. The grieving widower, devastated by his wife's tragic accident. Instead, you ruined everything. By not dying. By being stupid." He tried to sit up, wincing. "Do you know what that merger was worth? What I had planned? The insurance payout alone was." He stopped, realizing too late what he'd admitted. Outside the door, I heard movement. "How many others were there?" I asked quietly, "besides the 3 we know about." Marcus's face went cold. "You really want to know? Ask about the summer house in Vermont, the boating accident in Lake George, the hiking tragedy in Colorado. So many tragic accidents, so many grieving families ready to sell their companies for a fraction of their worth. You're a monster." "I'm a businessman." His voice was pure ice now. "Everything has a price. Lives, deaths, marriages, they're all just transactions. You were supposed to be my masterpiece, the perfect society wife, the tragic accident, the grieving husband consolidating empires. We could have been legendary. We're done here." Detective Morgan stepped into the room. "Marcus Hamilton, you're under arrest." As they read him his rights, Marcus kept his eyes locked on mine. "You'll never prove all of it. Some secrets stay buried." "Maybe," I said, standing. "But you'll never touch those stairs again." In the hallway, Sarah waited with a team of FBI agents. "They found more," she said grimly. "Bank accounts, offshore holdings, connections to at least 4 other suspicious deaths. He's been doing this for decades." I watched through the window as they handcuffed Marcus to the hospital bed, the master manipulator finally trapped by his own perfect plan. "What happens now?" I asked. "Now," Sarah said, "we find the other families, the other victims. There's a lot of truth to uncover. And a lot of justice to serve," Detective Morgan added. I touched my neck where the sabotage necklace had been, the last piece of Marcus's failed plot. "Will you help me?" Sarah smiled. "Every step of the way." As we walked out of the hospital, reporters clustered at the entrance, their questions blurred together. "Mrs. Hamilton, did you know about the other wives? Was the merger connected to the attempt on your life? Are there more victims?" I paused at the door, thinking of the other women who had faced those stairs, who hadn't been warned in time, who hadn't had a chance to fight back. "Yes," I said clearly, facing the cameras. "There are more victims, and we're going to find them all." 6 months later, I stood in front of Marcus's grandmother's Victorian mansion, watching as forensic teams dug up the immaculate garden. Sarah stood beside me, holding a weathered journal we discovered in a hidden wall safe. Ground-penetrating radar showed 3 distinct anomalies, Detective Morgan reported, joining us. All consistent with the timeline in Margaret Hamilton's diary. The diary had been the key that unlocked everything. Marcus's grandmother wasn't his first victim, she was the one who caught him. Her detailed accounts of mysterious deaths dating back to his college years had blown the case wide open. "She knew," Sarah said softly. "She was gathering evidence when he discovered her plan. And made her his first staircase accident." I finished. "But she managed to hide this first." The journal documented it all. Mysterious deaths at boarding school, college girlfriends who disappeared during vacations, business partners who died in convenient accidents. Marcus had been practicing his craft for decades before perfecting his signature staircase scheme. "Mrs. Hamilton," one of the forensic team members waved urgently. "We found something." In the freshly dug earth lay a tarnished locket, the same one from the photograph of Patricia Young, Marcus's college girlfriend who'd run away in 1995. Inside was a torn piece of paper with hastily scrawled numbers. "Bank account codes," Sarah confirmed, examining it. "Offshore accounts we hadn't found yet." Detective Morgan was already on her phone. "Get me the financial crimes unit. We've got new leads." I walked the perimeter of the garden, remembering all the parties Marcus had hosted here, how he'd always steered guests away from certain areas, how he'd become furious when I suggested renovating the landscaping. "The bodies shouldn't be buried on the property," I'd overheard him say once, thinking I was asleep. At the time, I thought he was talking in his sleep. Now, "Elizabeth?" Sarah called. They found another one. This time it was a ring, matching the description of the family heirloom Rachel had been wearing the night she fell. Marcus had told everyone she'd been buried with it. "How many?" I asked Detective Morgan. "How many are we really looking at?" She consulted her tablet. Based on the journal entries and financial records, at least 12 confirmed victims over 25 years. Possibly more we haven't connected yet. A young officer hurried over. "The cadaver dogs are going crazy at the old well house." I remembered Marcus's obsession with keeping that small building locked. He always said it was unsafe. Condemned. "More like condemned evidence," Sarah muttered. As the sun set, casting long shadows across the excavated garden, I thought about all the women who had crossed Marcus's path. How many had seen through his mask too late? How many had tried to warn others? "We found documents," Sarah said quietly. His grandmother was trying to contact Jessica's family before her accident. She knew Jessica was in danger. "Like you tried to warn me." She nodded. "Sometimes the warning comes in time. Sometimes." The well house door creaked open as the forensic team emerged. Their faces told us everything we needed to know. 3 sets of remains, Detective Morgan confirmed. Preliminary examination matches the time frame of the missing persons cases from 1998. 2002, and 2005. I thought of Marcus in his hospital bed, now a prison cell, still playing the misunderstood victim, still believing he'd get away with everything. He won't talk, I said. Not even to save himself. He doesn't have to. Sarah held up the journal. His grandmother made sure he couldn't hide forever. She left us a map to every crime, every victim, every secret. And we'll find them all, Detective Morgan added. Every single one. As darkness fell, the garden blazed with forensic lights. More teams arrived, more evidence emerged. The mansion's shadows seemed to recede, its secrets finally exposed to the light. What happens to the house? I asked. After the investigation, it's yours, Sarah reminded me. The estate transfers were never completed. I looked up at the staircase window, remembering that night. The push that was supposed to end my life had instead exposed decades of hidden crimes. Sell it, I decided. Use the money to help the victims' families and set up a foundation for women trapped in similar situations. So the next warning doesn't come too late. Sarah squeezed my hand as another shout came from the garden. Another secret unearthed, another truth revealed. Marcus had built his empire on buried secrets and silenced voices. In the end, those voices had found their way back to the surface, speaking their truth from beyond the carefully tended garden that had hidden them for so long.